this video, I want to talk about the thing I used to do when I just started Defense Supply Company, and it's actually the same thing that Elon Musk does with all his companies, and honestly not quite sure why I stopped doing it. Okay, what's that one thing? The one thing is figuring out what is the biggest bottleneck in your business and just solving that, right? And doing that week after week, week after week. Now, first started the Defense Supply Company, honestly, it wasn't even like we were trying to start it. It just kind of like happened where we were bringing in a truckload of material for our own, fence company because we were trying to save money and, things like that. Because we were buying so much, it's like at this point it makes sense to buy, truckloads of material. That being said, we already had tried doing this a few years prior to this. That was back in 2018. And then the next time we even started trying to do truckloads of material was in 2021, I want to say. Something like that. So it was a full 3 or 4 years later. And the reason for that is I wasn't prepared for it whatsoever. We brought in the truckloads of material. We were trying to assemble panels at the warehouse and then get them delivered and basically replicate what my supplier was doing. And there was just so many issues because we weren't set up for it. We were moving the materials too many times. It was getting scratched and messed up, and there was no, even checking truckloads as they were coming in. It was just a complete disaster, right? And so fast forward to 2021 or whatever it happened to be, that's where everything just kind of aligned. We were a bigger company, so we were trying to save money. I had two of my guys that were, they were in the process of starting their own company, and they were going to become some contractors for us, it seemed like, and then they were trying to steal work. So I'm like, I can't have you in the field. It's just not possible. And so instead of doing that, we end up doing, I'm like, I'll bring you into the warehouse, you start bringing, building this, and it just kind of worked out. And then we had an extra person in the office that really wanted to go more into more hands-on stuff. And so she ended up being the person that would handle the orders and stuff like that. So it was, because back then we only supplied, it was for ourselves. And then we had one or two companies, and everything worked out pretty well. So that's how we kind of got started. And the one thing that we used to do all the time is, because I wasn't involved, at that point in time, I was still actively trying not to work. I was, working maybe 5 hours a week. It was the summertime, and I was legit at that point, in the course of a summer, I was probably home, if that was 10 weeks worth of summer or whatever it happened to be, I was home maybe a day, possibly 2 days a week, max. And then other than that, I was down the shore. I was surfing. I was just doing whatever I felt like. I was running away from work at that point. And so anyway, I was doing this, every week. Basically what would happen is I would come back on a Tuesday and be like, hey, how's everything going? What's your issues? Blah, blah. And I would just be like, what is the biggest issue that you guys are having right now? Right? And they would say, well, it's this. So then at that point, we would start looking, and it's okay, we need to change this to this, or let's try this and see what happens and that kind of stuff. And then so basically we would do that, and then I'll come back the following week and I'm like, all right, how'd that work out? And, is it better? Is it worse? Did it completely fix the problem? Is there still ongoing issues? And by that time frame, a lot of times it's all right, that fixed the issue. Or if there need to be something else, it's all right, let's try this. And then I come back the following week and they're okay, now that's fixed. I'm like, all right, so what's the next biggest issue that you guys are having? And then we would just fix that and move on, fix that, move on. And it wasn't any rocket science. It was no, I don't even know why I was doing it. I just happened to just do it. And because what I saw myself, and it's still true to this day, is typically if there's an issue that no one else can solve, in the company, or if I'm talking to other contractors and things like that, I typically can go in and pretty quickly be like, this is the issue, we fix it this way. And I think the reason for that is because for me, there's number one, I don't think there's any fear involved in like fear of failing or fear of messing up or things like that. I don't know if it's because of the amount of stress and stuff I was in with McDonald's, or from all the years of stress with financially, with just never having enough money, whatever happens to be, like I just don't care. Like it just doesn't even cross my mind, like where I'm stressing myself out. Like it just doesn't matter, right? Could be that. And like the other thing is, like I would typically look at things, and I still do now, is that I never really put much emotion in anything. So again, the fear-based and all that kind of stuff, like that was not even like in the realm of my thinking. And then as far as like when coming up with solutions, like even to this day, I don't care about people's feelings, right? And I don't know if that's really a good thing, a bad thing. I am learning more and more. ADD is definitely 100%. And then as far as like the autism spectrum, definitely based on what I see. And then things like Asperger's and things like that, like it's a yeah. And which is, I guess, good and bad. It allows me to go through situations without having to like really care about it. But then again, I can go through some really stressful times and like it's nothing. And then other times, like I'll be like at home and I'm like, I got the two kids that are yelling at each other and things are going crazy. And I'm like losing it internally. And I'm like, I don't know why. So it's weird how like my stress and everything else kind of works together. And I think it's because, like, honestly, for me, it's a lot of times I feel like I'm in complete control of my outcome and like the life and the outcomes that are going to happen. Because my philosophy, and I drill this into my son as much as I possibly can, is that I feel like anything that happens in my life is my fault, and good and bad, right? So when I build this company, which before I was saying it's doing $1 billion a year, but now I'm like, let's just focus on building a company where it's to the point where I will be worth $1 trillion. And again, I've talked about in a few other videos, it's not for the financial aspects. Like that doesn't even interest me at this point, to be honest with you. Not that I'm rich by any means. It's matter. It just gets to the point where as long as my shit's paid for, I've gotten past the times of like, I've been through the times of just buying whatever I want, whenever I want, going through the times where it's like I'm buying things because I feel like I deserve them, and because, if other people have them, I should have them too. And now it's just to the point where if I want something, I'll get it, but it's not like there's money burning in my, like a hole in my pocket anymore. Whereas I used to have that issue, and it was really, honestly, I think it was more for trying to become happy, like, honestly. And so anyway, what can you focus on each week in your business that is like the number one issue within your business, right? And also realize that sometimes what you think the real problem is not really the problem, right? It might be just a symptom of the problem,